It is my great pleasure to be with you this morning and to have this opportunity to hear from our NAF alumni who are now amazing, incredible young professionals. In my work as Senior Director of Alumni and Post-Secondary Engagement, I get to know many NAF students and alumni and learn about the unique pathways they have taken to achieve their dreams. I can't wait to hear the journeys that our panelists are going to share with you today, so let's get started. Please welcome to the stage Ashley Elliott, Olympic High School AOF, class of 2011. Connor Nolan, Northport High School AOF, class of 2011. Christian Ponce, Charlotte Engineering, Early College, class of 2021. And Eduardo Ramirez, Northridge High School, Colorado, AOE, class of 2021. And as a reminder, the audience can submit questions for panelists using Slido. Go to slido.com, enter NAFNext25, and submit a question. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get started with our life after high school question. So we're going to go down the row, and we're going to start with you, Ashley. So what did life after high school look like for you, and what were those next steps for you?
Yeah, so I took a traditional path. I went on to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, Aggie Pride, and I received my Bachelor's of Science in Accounting. Thereafter, I went and got my master's degree at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Awesome.
Yes.
Connor.
I thought I was going to go down the traditional path, and after a year at SUNY Oswego in New York, I decided that was not the right path for me. And I came home to Long Island, and it was actually because of my NAF Academy and one of the business partners that I had met while I was in the program. I actually got a job, sight on scene, offered me right there they actually heard me speak at our annual employer recognition breakfast after our internships. And they were like, you are someone we want to align with, so.
Nice. Christian.
I went to study at the California Institute of Technology after being at Charlotte Engineering Early College, my Academy of Engineering. I studied bioengineering over at Caltech, but after my junior year, summer of my junior year, I left to New York to start an incubator program where I met my current business partner who was wrapping up his master's thesis over at MIT in autonomous robotics.
Awesome. All right, Eduardo.
Like Ashley, I followed a more traditional life path. After I graduated from Northridge in 2021, I just went to Colorado School of Mines, where I just graduated a couple months ago.
Woo! All right, so for Ashley and Eduardo, so, thinking about your college experience, talk a little bit about your major, some of the experiences you had in college. How do you kind of connect those to some of the work-based learning experiences you had in your NAF Academy?
Yes, so during my sophomore year in college, again, I was in the accounting department, and I had a conversation with myself, and I said, self, and myself said, huh? I said, accounting is not it, girl. So I went and had that same conversation with my mom, and my mom said, self, girl, go to class.
Right.
And so reluctantly, I went on to class, but proudly I stand as an accountant, as full professional, and it's been great. As far as work-based learning, in high school, I was offered an internship at Wells Fargo. And so that really kicked off my aha to accounting, finance, and I stuck with it. It's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Eduardo.
My major was,
Thank you, Ashley. Yeah.
my major was in environmental engineering, and I just want to stress how important extracurriculars were for me in college, both professional and some less typical ones. I was a part of the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineership, and just the different opportunities that organization was able to give me is fundamental. And as well, some of the less typical ones, I was a part of my college's theater program, and just having that sort of two different sides of that experience really helped me become a more well-rounded engineer.
We just talked about that backstage because you're like, I'm used to the lights. I'm like, they're bright. You're like, I got this.
Yeah.
And we met at the SHIP conference in October.
Yeah,
It was
in
a
Anaheim,
fabulous
yeah.
experience, sponsored by our friends at RTX.
Yes.
All right, so think about some of the different paths, of course, that we all know our students have. So for Connor and Christian, think about, some of the tools and resources that you leveraged in high school to make some of those really big decisions to take a different kind of pathway and approach to your education and your career.
Yes, I mean, the biggest takeaway I had from my NAF Academy is really those soft skills that are intertwined in all of the work-based learning activities that we do throughout our time in the program. Not just in the coursework, but outside of the classroom as well. I was really fortunate to have a really robust guest speaker series in our academy. We got to do job site visits. We also did a lot of different work-based learning activities, whether it was informational interviews, mock interviews, resume writing seminars. We actually did a lunch and learn etiquette at KPMG, which is also one of my favorite things I did in high school. All of which really kind of pushed me forward. I was kind of sitting there in school the first year, my freshman year of college, and I'm like, I think I can be doing this elsewhere and actually get paid already. And it turned out I was right. So I came home and I spoke with one of our business partners, and that was really what it was. My public speaking also was one of the big things. They knew me from that, and I was comfortable in front of a crowd and a group of professionals. And so that's really where my career started, was because of the soft skills I got from my NAF Academy.
And you did a lot of networking in high school too. You guys had a lot, I know you had a lot of business partners too.
Lots of networking.
Your advisory board, and you practiced a lot as well.
Yeah, and we were really fortunate that with our academy, we had a lot of face-to-face time with our business partners. I actually sat as a student officer during my senior year on our advisory board, so I actually got to be in the room where it happened. And those were some of the amazing connections that I still have to these days. Some of my greatest mentors, Lorraine Sullivan is one of them, who was a board member at our academy, is still one of my mentors to this day.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Christian.
I'd have to agree with Connor. I think the soft skills that I got from my Academy of Engineering were pretty invaluable to my, albeit young and early career, especially networking and self-directed learning. I know Mr. King and Ms. White are somewhere in the back, and they'll remember the Mission to Mars project. All of the project-based learning initiatives at my Academy of Engineering really helped me become self-sufficient when it came to learning. In the real world, I learned that everything is self-directed learning. There's no textbook that can help me do my job or anything else like that. It's all just unstructured and studying on your own. So getting to practice that with projects, work-based learning, has been invaluable.
So where did the investigative journalism come from, Christian?
Well, I've always really liked telling stories. I've been interested in it since I was a kid, making the iMovie trailers on my iPad. And when I went to school, I decided to write for our newspaper because I felt like everything that I do and I was interested in was really just journalism in disguise. Even my job now, I try to tell my engineers, you would never expect an F1 driver to be, or an F1 engineer to be an F1 engineer without an understanding of like fluid dynamics, right? If you don't understand the rules that govern the engine, how could you make a good engine, right? You have to understand the rules first. It's the, I guess, engineer's perspective.
Yeah.
And a journalist tries to understand the rules of social systems. And from those rules of social systems, build up, whether it's stories, entrepreneurial pursuits, or whatever else it may be. So I think that's where the journalism comes from.
A little intersection there. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about your first job. What was your first job, even if it was in high school? And how did you get it, and how did you feel about going into that first job? I'm going to start with Eduardo and go this way.
Okay. My first job that definitely has a lot of engineering sort of applications was lifeguarding when I was 16. But my first technical official job I started last month at Environmental Resources Management. Through career fairs that NAF was able to provide for me and on campus at Mines, I was able to get a lot of experience, practicing that elevator pitch, practicing, selling myself. And going into my first day, that really helped me prepare for it might sound a little cliche, but quite literally my whole life had led up to that. You know, I was able to luckily get a job that directly relates to my degree, and just having that like full circle moment was really nice.
That's awesome. Christian.
When I was 16, on my 16th birthday, I dressed very similar to how I'm dressed right now, and I went down to my local tropical smoothie cafe to interview for a job. The manager told me I was dressed a little bit nice, but I wanted to make sure that I got that job. And he told me that, well, a tropical smoothie was so great because they pay $7.51 and Smoothie King pays $7.50. I thought that was a dry joke until I got my first paycheck, and I saw $7.51 per hour. But I think that was great for continuing to develop social skills. And then I guess my first, quote unquote, I don't even know if I'd call it a real job, but job after school has been leading a small team of engineers, mostly hailing from Caltech and NASA, to develop a robotic platform for autonomous experimentation, or in short, robots that do science. And I've used a whole bunch of the skills that I developed at my NAF Academy for that.
Awesome. Connor.
So my first job was I got through connections. Story of my life is I just constantly networked and leveraged those connections. And it was at a gourmet bakery called La Bonne Quiche. I make a wonderful quiche Lorraine.
Yay, that's my name.
We talked about that yesterday,
We
actually.
did.
So yeah, that was my first job. And I clearly enjoyed working there a lot, but also really enjoyed the products we were making. So I needed to get out of there. And my first real job was in the real estate space. So we actually had a business partner in my academy, Suzanne DeNoyer, who was a Century 21 office owner in our local town. And I ended up coming to work for her and actually helped her transition closing down her office, and she was selling it to another company because she, in 2012, just did not have the technological skill set to be able to move forward in the current climate. And she had the foresight. So I started as a weekend secretary, actually, and that lasted, I think, 3 weeks before she was like, I can use you full time. Please come in, like, digitize me, make me, help me in any way. And all of that was skills that I learned from my NAF Academy, but also, you know, honestly, just YouTube and Google were my best friends. And those on-the-job learning skills.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, for me, so in high school, the Charlotte Metro Credit Union allowed us to open a branch at the school. And so I was tapped to be the branch manager. Now, I did not pay, but I got great experience of responsibility, leadership. After that, I received my first paid internship at Wells Fargo. And I was like, oh, this check is nice. Yeah, this looks good. And then well after that, my first official job was with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Greensboro, North Carolina. They worked me. They worked me good. And I did my stint there, but I learned a lot, and kind of like Connor, those soft skills kicked in during my time at PwC.
Patience was probably part of that too, right?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of patience.
Lots of patience.
So you've had an array of experiences. I mean, so, you know, we know right now that you can take on the world. What are you thinking about in terms of your career trajectory? What are your next steps? What are you thinking about? I mean, you just started a job last week, Eduardo, and we're so glad they let you come today. So, that's awesome. But what are you thinking about in terms of, you know, career path, or maybe how you're sharing this information, what you learned in your NAF Academy with others?
With my career path, my career trajectory, I'd like to say it really started with that internship NAF provided me through the Academy of Engineering. In 2021, so peak COVID, or 2020, 2021, peak COVID, I started at Envirotech Services interning as a lab assistant. And there I was able to do a lot of different soil sampling and soil quality analysis. And that leads directly into the job that I have now. I brought it up during my interview just because it allowed me to I have experience in this area. The job that I'm doing right now, I'm doing groundwater analysis and soil analysis. So again, it's really nice to have that full circle trajectory.
It's awesome. Yeah?
When I was back at my NAF Academy of Engineering, one of my first research internships was in bioinformatics. It might sound a little bit boring, but I was assembling grain genomes, specifically sorghum. We're stitching together these sorghum genomes to run what's called a genome-wide association study to look for the genetic basis of traits that may be conducive to climate change resistance, with the idea being that if we could find this genetic basis, we could help engineer it into other crops so that these crops are also resistant to the negative impacts of climate change. It was there at my Academy of Engineering that I first fell in love with life sciences. Seeing sequences fly across my beat-up 10-year-old MacBook, it was pretty cool. I felt like it was in Jurassic Park. I really fell in love with the life sciences right there and right then. The sense of wonder that it provided, the sense of impact that you could pursue this career and it could have this outsized positive impact, help save lives. That's what I wanted to do. But when I left Caltech to start doing research in a real wet lab, work with genetic engineering tools, I realized that the process of discovery was very slow, cumbersome, involved a lot of repetitive manual labor. So I got set on the current career trajectory that I'm on now. And this is all just to say that I feel like I found my calling at my Academy of Engineering, and my career trajectory is set on achieving that.
It's awesome.
From my academy experience, actually, in my junior year, I was taking IB Business and Management. Ended up dropping that class because I thought I was never going to be in management. That seemed too hard and not worth my time. Funny enough, now I manage a team of 100 people between my two different companies that I now own and the CEO of. And wish I had stayed in that class. I believe my teacher's here in the audience, actually. I'm sorry I dropped out. But hey, I learned a lot in those first 2 months. So it's been really helpful for me. But yeah, so I kind of took that and also what I learned through NAF. And honestly, the journey I had with NAF after my academy, I was very fortunate that I was able to start coming to NAF events across the country. My first NAF Next was actually 2011, the year I graduated, and I gave a talk with my academy lead at the time about our gold standard of internships that we had. We were very fortunate that our school had 100% internship placement, and so we were sharing our best practices. And I believe this is my 11th NAF Next, and so it's kind of just shown me how I can continue to drive myself to things that I didn't think were possible, which allowed me to become a CEO of my first company at 26, found my first company at the age of 29, and then I've started multiple businesses since and have become a serial entrepreneur.
Started with the NAF Academy.
It started there.
Ashley.
How do I follow that?
Honestly, it's real easy. You're funnier than I am.
Thank you. Well, I've been in various of industries. Again, I started out in public accounting as an auditor, did my stint there, and then I went on into the nonprofit world. Worked for a nonprofit out in California. Really loved that because naturally I'm a giver. And so I realized this is the space I'm meant to be in. And got back in the job market. Well, before I got back in the job market, I had a baby, got married, all the things.
All the things.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back to work. This was cute. So let me get back in the job market. And I did, and NAF just fell into my lap. And I was like, why would I not?
Well, what do you do?
Yes.
What are you doing right now?
Yes, so I am now working with NAF as the finance manager. So it's been a full circle moment and definitely a blessing in the same breath. Yeah.
We're so happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
And I know it's a lot, but we're very grateful for having an alum in the space. We actually have another alum who's on our Alumni Leadership Council, Mel Saka. She's in the audience, who also works on our team. So that's always incredible for us to have those experiences amplified with the work that we do each day. So, thinking about the teachers in the audience and what they're doing every day, incredible work with students, what are some lessons that you want them to know? They're impactful, keep doing it. We need other students to have some of the experiences that you had. So just speak to the educators for a moment. Eduardo, I'll start with you.
Yeah, at Northridge, I want to shout out my teacher, David Isley, who was a part of my Intro to Engineering and my 3D solid modeling classes. Some of my Academy of Engineering classes were cut a little weirdly because of COVID, but what I still remember to this day Part of that 3D solid modeling class was that I got a certified SolidWorks Associates certificate, and that helped me at Mines because I was able to speed run through some of my classes by just showing that I have proof of certification in this. And as well, in that Intro to Engineering class, just building those fundamentals really set the groundwork for how I'd begin the rest of my career.
Yeah, awesome.
My dad, he went to school back in Long Beach. Spanish was his first language, and he told me about how difficult it was at the time where there weren't really great ESL programs, even down in Long Beach, and how he struggled with a pretty bad stutter, and how back in elementary school there was a teacher who pulled him aside and said that his stutter wasn't because he was dumb or anything, it was because he was too smart, and his mind was coming up with the words too fast for his mouth to spit out, and how formative that was for him. My dad was the first in our family to go to college. Similarly, I remember my third grade teacher, Miss Cada. Miss Cada printed out these pictures for me. In North Carolina, they have the Common Core, and I took the Common Core test, and they told me I didn't have to learn math that year. So I sat in the back of the classroom, and I played board games by myself. And Miss Cada came over, and she helped me print out these pictures from NASA JPL's website. I still remember them very, very, very clearly. The rings of Saturn, taken by Cassini. And I had this little photo book. That, similarly to my dad's story, was very formative. I looked at that photo book and I said, I want to be a scientist. And I'll go to the place that they made these satellites and where these scientists came from, and that was Caltech. About probably 12 years later, I did end up at Caltech. And this is all to say, whether it was with my dad or with me, those tiny little things that you do, your bits of patience, that tiny, tiny little bit more, it's formative. It's the reason why I'm on this stage. It's probably the reason why all four of us are on this stage. And
Sure. Yes.
so, thank you. That patience, it goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have to echo what Christian just said. You know, you guys make such a huge impact, even on the students that you might not think you do. Mm-hmm. I'm a student who I wasn't the best in the classroom. I had severe ADD, and in a traditional classroom setting, it was just not my vibe, and it was not my ideal learning environment. And every day when I went to my NAF classes, that was like my respite from the rest of the day. And seeing my NAF teachers, because those classrooms just felt differently. Mm-hmm. We were thinking differently. We were getting up out of our seats. We were moving around the classroom. We were having bigger discussions than, just sitting down and reading a textbook. And that was really informative for me because that was the first time I realized, I could do more than I had thought before, and kind of started to realize what type of learner I was. And it really is, I say where I am today is due to one of my educators, my academy lead, Allison Swabish. She stayed in touch with me, even after high school, and continued to foster a relationship with me and push me because she saw what I was capable of doing. And she's been a true mentor through my entire life so far. And still to this day is one of the first phone calls I make when I have a huge, professional success of any kind. She's one of my first people I talk to.
Love that. Yeah, she's amazing.
I have a handful of people through my academy experience, but I'll call two. One is by the name of Mr. Desmond Blackett, who I have adopted as my godfather, who along the way, even till this day, actually he just called me this morning, who's been very pivotal in my life, and he used to say, "Scholar, you need to have an inquisitive mind." I'll never forget that, and that was the first time I learned what the word inquisitive meant as well. And till this day, I'm always in a learning mode. And then there's another person by the name of Mr. Mike Raylon, who we just learned gained his heavenly wings. But he was extremely pivotal in where I am today. Sorry, y'all. But he was a great man, and he fulfilled his purpose. And another reason why I will always advocate for NAF and the work that we do on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great. great people in our lives making great impact. So thank you for sharing that. So before I go to the questions, I see a lot popping up, and some of them we've covered, but there are a couple that I want to call out. You know, you've had great experience, and one of the things that we know when we have this great experience is how do we pay it forward? Mm-hmm. So what do you do in terms of, you know, your work as a professional, as a NAF alum? What are some of the activities, professional organizations, including NAF? What are some of the things that you do to kind of pay it forward with this incredible experience you've had?
Yeah, so at the Colorado School of Mines, the Multicultural Engineering program has something for incoming minority freshmen called the Challenge Program. And basically, students are allowed to stay on campus for around a month, take some chemistry and calculus courses, and just sort of get used to that engineering, that college environment. I participated in it my incoming freshman year, and later served as a tutor and eventually as a live-in mentor. And just being able to share on the knowledge that I've learned so far, and especially even I see these students during the school year, they come to me asking me like, hey, how do I help, or can you have, oh, I'm so sorry. Can I get some help in my Calc 2 class? I'm really struggling, like how do I start writing a professional resume? I'm able to provide some assistance when it comes to that kind of thing, and just being able to give back in that way has been really fulfilling.
It's awesome, yeah. Christian.
Recently, I've joined the Alumni Leadership Council, specifically the local Alumni Engagement Subcommittee.
Got it right, that was
it. And I think a lot of my involvement with NAF has been through that. However, when I left North Carolina, well, my mom was a preschool teacher, and sometimes I'd go to her classroom. But I've tried to keep the habit of going back to classrooms to share, at the time, back at Caltech, my work in genetic engineering with the kids in high school and middle school. And that's not something I've done a lot in the Bay Area since I've moved there, just, I guess, on the basis that I don't know a lot of schools out there. But if there are any teachers from the Bay Area and your kids want to know more about bioengineering or entrepreneurship, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to continue what I was doing back there.
awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned already that, you know, I've stayed in touch with NAF on the national level, but also on the local level. So I ended up going back to my academy locally, and I joined the advisory board. And I wanted to make sure I made an impact there. I then served for almost a decade as the advisory board chair for my local academy. And along with that, I then started getting more and more involved at the national level. So I now sit on the Alumni Leadership Council with Christian. And I've been doing that for a bunch of years at this point. Yeah, maybe eight. And you know, I'm so passionate about what NAF does and what all of you do for your students, because NAF truly changed the trajectory of my life. And I can genuinely draw almost all of my success back to a point somewhere on my timeline that intersects with my NAF Academy or NAF on the national level. And, you know, you all have such incredible roles in these students' lives. And I'm so honored that I get to be a part of that, either on the local level or on the national level, and kind of help, you know, shepherd this into the future, because it gave me so much. I want to make sure that I'm giving back as much as I can.
Yeah, I concur. Because of the educators that were in my life, maybe a year or two after I graduated from high school, I came back and I said, I want to start a scholarship program. And so I did, called the Ashley B. McCullough Princess Project. And so I gave scholarships to graduating high school females from my alma mater who was looking to go on and continue their education. And I've done that now since 2011. And I'm very proud of that. Along with that, I also offer mentorship, you know, to kind of help them complete their college application process, FAFSA, and then, you know, once they get there, how can I help you at your time of need while you're in school? And then additionally, if the teachers call me and they say, we need you to come and speak to a classroom, I no longer live in North Carolina, but they know I will get on a plane and come and do just that. So that's how I give back to my home school.
It's awesome, incredible. Thank you all for contributing. Very, very important that we always pay it forward with these experiences. So we've got business partners in the room too. We've got other folks who work within our network. And so any words of support or advisement for them as they support the NAF Academy experience for our students across the country. Any thoughts?
In terms of how that can be paid forward, I guess, with everyone else in the room, I just remember feeling very, like there was a large barrier to entry, I guess. So having that environment for the teachers that were able to provide for me in high school just really helps me believe that this is for me. This is something that I can achieve, and just making sure that a welcoming atmosphere is laying the groundwork for these students that will continue to build the future.
Yeah.
I think education is a battle. It's a battle that's not gotten easier. So to all the corporate partners, to all the educators in the room, to know that that battle is probably one of the most formative ones to the future of all youth in our country. So keep fighting the good battle.
Right.
I mean, I would say for our corporate partners, both big and small, you guys are such a critical component of our entire structure. It is the thing that sets NAF apart, is that partnership of the private and the public together. And the work-based learning opportunities that you guys provide to high school students is setting them up for such success that you have no idea how much you're impacting them. I mean, when I had my high school internship as a junior at McGladrey accounting firm in New York City, I was the only high school intern out of 20 college interns, but I was also the only intern that sat in my floor, on my floor, that constantly had work. And the partners all knew my name without me having to try, where all the college interns, the one who sat directly across from me literally played with the Rubik's Cube that we got on our orientation day most of the summer. And they jumped every time a partner came by, and I was just always getting, I had more and more stuff going on. I was working on a really big project. But you never know what that high school student is also gonna bring back to your organization as well. And it is a two-way street. And also, you guys are helping to build the next, your future workforce. I mean, I know for me, out on Long Island, we were having a critical draining of talent because our students were leaving after high school and not coming back. And so our corporate partners locally, that was one of the main reasons why they were trying to get involved in high school, so that students knew they had something to come back to.
Yeah. For me, for our local partners, PwC was one of them, and they hosted a college readiness program that was a year long, and it was extremely helpful because I had no idea what to do for college. And they actually prepared us and walked with us up until graduation, and I ended up getting accepted to almost 20 schools. But had I not gone through that program, I would have had no clue. And then also other local partners for myself helped me to graduate college debt-free. They gave a lot of scholarship money, and so for me, it was a true blessing. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you all today. What I'm really glad to see is that we answered a lot of the questions that came in on Slido, so we were incorporating them through our time together. So I just would like for us all to give another round of applause to our incredible alum, Ashley, Connor, Christian, and Eduardo. And we will be around. We have alumni office hours. We have Meet the ALC today. So we hope you stop by and talk more with us. Thank you all for your time and attention.